Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Recovery Channel. Wow, week 50. Hard to believe that this leg of our journey is almost over. We'll say our tearful goodbyes in a couple of weeks, but I have to say, it's been a heck of a run. I hope you've gotten as much out of watching these videos as we have making them. It has truly been a pleasure sharing our experience, strength, and hope with you, and also sharing a bit about the psychology of addiction and recovery. We have a little more psychology for you this week. We're going to be talking about cognitive distortions. Cognitive distortions are things that our mind tells us that aren't really true. Like I touched on back in week 32, our mind is constantly generating thoughts. A lot of the time, the thoughts are influenced by emotions. The emotions are based on past experiences, which in some cases can be painful or traumatic. The result of this interaction can be patterns of thinking that are irrational, exaggerated, or just plain inaccurate. Simply put, our brain makes stuff up. We all experience this from time to time, but for people with addiction or other mental issues, these distortions are often the default lens through which we view ourselves, others, and the world. Aaron Beck and David Burns are two psychologists who help define and categorize these distortions as part of creating cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. You actually hear examples of these distortions all the time without realizing it. A lot of times they're in your own head. Do any of these sound familiar? I did really poor in that interview. I'm never going to find a job. My car is making that noise again. What a piece of junk. I did well on the test, but it was multiple choice and I just got lucky. That guy has so many tattoos. I bet he's been in prison. My wife said she has to work late again. I just know she's having an affair. I've been working on my recovery for almost a year now. I should be further along. The psychologists that came up with CBT created categories for cognitive distortions. If we can identify something, describe it, and give it a name, it's easier to explain it to somebody, and more importantly, figure out a treatment for it. We, of course, are going to apply it to recovery. Let's run through some of the major categories of distorted thinking. Then we're going to talk about how you can identify and combat these distortions in your own life. The first one is all or nothing, or black and white thinking. The fancy term is dichotomous thinking. Things are either good or bad, beautiful or ugly, perfect or a total failure. In relationships, this can cause a person to go from your best friend to your worst enemy based on a single event. In an intimate relationship, you might think that if you don't agree on everything, you are fundamentally incompatible. When it comes to self-perception, you think that if you don't excel at something, you are a complete failure. In recovery, you might feel like if you're not nailing every aspect of your program, you're doomed for a relapse. The next one is overgeneralization. This is when you take one negative experience and assume it'll happen over and over again. That leads to sweeping assumptions about the future. For example, you've had a bad date and conclude that you'll never find love. You get rejected for a job and assume you'll never find work. Someone betrays your trust and you feel like you can't trust anyone. Having a slip makes you think that you'll never be able to sustain sobriety. When you hear yourself using words like always, never, everyone, nobody, everything, and nothing, there's a good chance that you are overgeneralizing. For those of us with low self-esteem, it really reinforces that we'll never succeed, that we'll always mess things up, that nothing works out for us. Next, we have mental filtering. A filter is typically something that you run air or water through and it takes out all the bad stuff, leaving you with air or water that is free of contaminants. Mental filtering is the opposite. When you run your thoughts through a mental filter, it takes out all the good things and leaves you with only the negative. Think about a performance review where your boss tells you that you are an awesome worker. They rattle off 10 things that you do really well. Then, as they are supposed to do, they give you one area for improvement. You walk away from the review stewing on that one negative thing, forgetting all the good stuff they said. You churn and churn on that one negative thing, going from shame to anger to sadness and back to anger. Another unfortunate symptom of filtering is that you tend to remember and relive embarrassing moments from your past a lot. Man, I have that one bad. There was a really embarrassing situation that happened to me in 5th grade that still pops up on a regular basis. There's another one that's related to filtering, and that is disqualifying the positive. This one is a little more specific, though, and it applies mostly to your accomplishments. You basically have a really hard time accepting the fact that you did something well, and you come up with ways to dismiss it. Yeah, I got an A on that test, but it was easy. I won the game, but there was no real competition. I fixed the car, but anyone could do it. People with this distortion have a really hard time taking a compliment as well. Ah, they're just being nice, or they don't really mean it. The sad thing is, these thoughts keep you stuck in low self esteem. It's like you're allergic to hope or success. Catastrophizing. You assume the worst case scenario in just about everything. You use your highly active imagination to come up with every possible outcome as long as it's negative. If I don't get this project done, I will surely get fired. If I lose my job, I won't be able to pay the rent or make my car payments. Then my girlfriend will leave me and my parents will disown me. I'll end up living under a bridge and eating out of garbage cans. Catastrophizing leads to panic and anxiety, which can ultimately lead to reaching for our drug of choice to numb the fear. Okay, let's touch on a few more and then we'll get to what you can do about it. Should statements. I should be further along by now. I should not still be having cravings at this point. These are basically self-judgments that reinforce the false belief that we are not good enough. Labeling. This is basically overgeneralization targeted at yourself or others. You define yourself or others based on a single behavior or event. I had a slip, therefore I'm a failure. They ate my yogurt, they are not to be trusted. Finally, we have emotional reasoning, and this is what sums up cognitive distortions and why they can be so damaging. The idea is that if you feel something, it must be true. You treat your feelings as if they are facts. The problem with that is your brain is constantly making stuff up based on past experiences. It is attaching meaning to things based on a faulty foundation in many cases. Now, I want to be really clear here that the fact that you have these distorted thoughts and feelings does not make you a bad person. You are a human being human. These distortions are a natural reaction to your experiences. So let's let go of any shame or self-judgment about these right now. Take a deep breath and let that sink in for a minute. These distorted thoughts are not your fault. All right, so like I say about addiction in general, it's not your fault that you are an addict. It's also not your fault that you have distorted thoughts, but it is your responsibility to do something about it. Combating these distorted thoughts is absolutely essential in your recovery. All or nothing thinking can turn a slip into a full-blown bender. Catastrophizing causes a lot of anxiety, making you feel like you need an escape. Should statements and labeling are going to cause you shame, and we all know what shame does to us. These distortions fuel denial, rationalization, and justification, all of which are enemies of sobriety and serenity. So what can we do about it? Glad you asked. The good news is that these cognitive distortions can be unlearned. It takes a lot of mental discipline and it can get tiring, but it's well worth it. And with time, it does get easier. Here are the steps in handling your distorted thoughts. Step 1. Be mindful of your thoughts. You can't change a thought if you don't know you're having it. Remember, these distorted thoughts feel natural to you, so it won't be obvious that you're having them. Pay attention to the words in your head. Are you using words like always and never? Are you being overly critical of yourself or others? Are you making sweeping judgments or conclusions? Are you only looking at the negative and not the positive? Are you catastrophizing? Are you trying to justify using? Step 2. Challenge the thought. Cognitive behavior therapy teaches you to question your thinking. Ask yourself if your thoughts are factual or if you are assigning additional meaning to them. What do you know to be 100% true versus what your mind is making up? Step 3. Rephrase and reframe. Based only on the facts, how can you rephrase your thought in a more positive way? Let's use the same list we started with in our discussion, but this time with a positive reframing. I did poorly in that interview. For the next one, I'm going to prepare myself better to give myself a better chance at landing that job. My car is making that noise again. It's a great car overall, but I'll need to get that fixed. I did well on that test. I'm learning a lot in school. That guy has so many tattoos. He kind of intimidates me, but I'm going to withhold any judgment until I get to know him better. My wife said she has to work late again. I'm feeling really uneasy about it, so I'm going to talk it through with my therapist. I've been working on my recovery for almost a year now. I wish I were further along, but I know this stuff takes time. I am doing my best, and I appreciate the healing I've experienced so far. Step 4. Talk to someone. Reach out to your sponsor, a therapist, or someone you trust that won't stoke the flames or judge you. Cognitive distortions lose a lot of their power when you say them out loud. Step 5. Journal. There's something about writing things down that is very healing. Seeing your distorted thoughts on paper will help you more easily see them for what they are and challenge them in a healthy way. Okay, your homework is to practice what we just talked about. Remember, having cognitive distortions isn't a failure on your part. You are thinking in a way that you've been taught to think through experience, trauma, and different forms of emotional dysfunction. Oh, yeah, and years of addiction. But like any habit, it can be replaced with healthier ones. So stay mindful of your thoughts and challenge the ones that aren't true. Next week, my beautiful wife, Christy, is going to talk to you about being of service. Until then, stay sober, stay mindful, and we'll see you next time.